James, immediately on my left. James Buchhock is General Manager for Small Firm Solutions at Thomson Reuters. James has a long-standing career in the legal services sector in both the UK and Australia, and will talk us through the do's and don'ts for investing in practice management systems. Thank you, James. Nicholas Carr is the Managing Director from Boab IT, a company he established after 2 decades of experience in delivering IT solutions to law firms. Nick will talk about IT infrastructure and hosted versus in-house solutions. And finally, Richard Chu, a partner here at Spark Helmore Lawyers from the Intellectual Property and Technology team. Richard's expertise centres around commercial transactions and technology, telecommunications and outsourcing matters in Australia and Asia Pacific. Richard will talk to us about the contractual arrangements we need to consider when outsourcing our IT. Each of our speakers has promised me they're going to speak for 14 and a half minutes. They've got 30 seconds leeway, and we'll open up the floor for question at the end. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our panel, and firstly, James to the floor.
Warwick, thank you, and good afternoon, everybody who's here in person and also online. So Nick and I were just talking just before we got started here. We're all talking about our most favourite areas of business, and we're very passionate about these. 14 and a half minutes it is. Needless to say, we could talk at great length about some of these subjects. So do understand that we are just giving you some pointers, I guess, giving you some ideas. And needless to say, I think all of us as panellists would be very happy afterwards or on a call later to explore some of these ideas. Okay, so let's not muck around then. In terms of, before I actually kind of get into the nitty-gritty of some of the observations, I guess, I've made through the course of working in the practice management space, I think it's quite interesting just to look at the history, immediate and past. Thomson Reuters in the local market has been in the industry of law for at least 100 years and 200 odd in other markets globally. And it's been quite interesting to chart that progress in terms of how, in particular, technology has influenced the market in terms of its change and supported a change, if you like. And I think the other thing is, in terms of noticing from the slide that I have up, in terms of how quicker these changes are actually happening now, and I think we're all warned about the changes that are happening and are imminent within the next 5 years in terms of how the legal industry is likely to change again, and technology will play a significant part in that. So I think, needless to say, I think the key is that at one time the lawyers did the thing that they did best. They practiced the law, and that's all they had to worry about. There was a glut of customers who were either vexatious litigants or who were interested in drawing up a will. Over the period of time, it was of interest to firms increasingly, I think, as we've moved into the noughties, as I think they call it these days, to actually manage a business. And I think increasingly as then we've moved into this era where we're seeing the small end of town, the smaller law firms, and once again it's not just here in Australia, but I think it's also a global phenomena. We're seeing a lot more small firms around, and you're getting a lot more business owners, business managers. You're running either a small or even a moderate sized business now. You've got partners coming out of the larger firms who are going alone or going into sole practice. And alternatively, we're seeing quite a bit of business coming from that kind of growth as well. And they are essentially finding a new challenge, which is not only practicing the law and having a good relationship with their clients, but also trying to keep those clients, look for new clients, and at the same time, keep the lights on. And I think another way of actually determining how much technology has actually impacted, and we've actually seen a growth in those kind of areas. So this slide here really demonstrates the number of different systems that today, currently, and I'm sure if pressed, you could all come up with maybe an additional one, but I think we've covered most of them. Within the last 10, 15 years, the number of systems that we use, which are now critical to running our businesses in law, it's tripled. I mean, it's incredible. In terms of the slide showing here, the orange, in terms of the colour coding, is where Thomson Reuters now are positioning themselves and supporting some of the functions there. E-discovery is another one that is on the radar in due course. Email servers, I think we're going to leave that to Microsoft and other providers at this point in time.